Today I'm on the map in Volo, Illinois at the Volo Museum just north of Chicago. The Volo has a fantastic collection of historic cars as well as various other attractions from singing animals to carousels to military guns and tanks. It's quite the place. But today I'm checking out their Titanic collection, which includes 6 cars related to the doomed ship. Join me. 3 of the most important cars in the history of the Titanic, valued at $6 million. Preserved in a private museum for 112 years. Go in here and see what it's like. So I'll just sort of get a lay of the land here before we get started. This is really well done. We see the cars, but clearly there's a number of other artifacts and stories here. You know, this ship and its maiden voyage have captured our interest for over a century. And I enjoy reading about it and learning about it. I've seen other Titanic museums and exhibits, but I think that this automobile theme here should be interesting. This was a 1911 French luxury limousine, and it is beautiful. And this navy blue. This is the car that Benjamin Guggenheim was chauffeured to the Titanic in. While his mistress survived, he and his 2 companions went down with the ship. And he famously said, "We've dressed in our best and are prepared to go down like gentlemen." Look at the amenities that these passengers would have had. It is something. Your gauge cluster. It says here that this is the actual violin that was being played on the deck of the Titanic as it was going down. The musician who owned this violin had been given this by his fiancée as an engagement gift. Apparently, there was only one car that was on the Titanic manifest, and it was one of 2 like it. And this is the other one. They claim that this is the most precious car here in this collection. There's a French car. A 1912 Renault CB luxury town car. It's the only other exact car known in the world. 1911, so it's about 113 years old right now. It's really pretty. They've done a fantastic job too of restoring it or keeping it in good shape. The white tires really make it look, I think, extra luxurious, but white tires would have been much more common back then. That would have been before they started adding carbon to tires to make them black. Some of the things in here are reminiscent of other Titanic exhibits that I've seen. If you've ever been to the one in Pigeon Forge or Branson, there's even more than that. A lot of these displays are things like what you might see there also. But this is very well done for the small space that they're working with. I think it's really well done. You have decks here of different times of the evening as the ship sank. Dishes that were used in various class areas of the ship. I would assume that those are, of course, reproductions. This is a mechanical horse. They said something like this would have been used, or an identical model would have been used on the Titanic. So there's one of these on the bottom of the sea. I don't know. It was in the gym, so I don't know what fitness features that provided somebody, what benefits that provided. This is a picture of the gymnasium, and the mechanical horse was back in the corner there. I was noticing there's only one of these snakes, and I thought it was decoration until I realized it was only on one side. And then I realized as I trace it, it all goes to this horn bulb. So the snake is a horn. It's so funny that the passengers were protected, and yet the driver just sat out there in the open. I guess that's how carriages were, though. And it says here that it's the only one in the world like it. The clock was the most prominent display. The car belonged to Lady Duff Gordon. She was a British fashion designer, and they say that she invented the catwalk, or the runway show. And she was on her way to New York with her husband to negotiate a lease in New York. And she was one of 12 people in a lifeboat that seated 65, or would have had the capacity for 65 people. And turns out there were 61 children who died during the Titanic accident. So had that 65 passenger boat been filled, they could have saved 53 of the children, 53 of the 61, had they just filled that boat to capacity with the kids, including the 12 people that did get saved on it. So the owners of this car were saved. It says the couple was cleared of any wrongdoing concerning bribing somebody to be able to get into the lifeboat. But the story started somewhere. They have an exhibit here when the water was 28 degrees. And you can put your hand down in it, and that is extremely cold water. Just from my fingertips, I can't imagine my body being submerged in that. Seems like you'd lose consciousness instantly. That would be so painful. There was a socialite by the name of Evelyn McLean, and this was her car. And she also was known for owning the Hope Diamond necklace. The Hope Diamond necklace was never on the Titanic, and neither was she. But the necklace is what inspired the necklace in the Titanic movie, and that is the connection of why they have this car here. I thought this was interesting. This is a leather harness that would keep the starter crank in place, I guess while they drove, or maybe it's just a museum piece. I thought that was interesting. Over here, this is a life vest that was used as a prop in the movie. And it says of the 3,000 life vests that were on board, only 12 are known to exist. I do believe I saw one maybe in one of those other Titanic exhibits. That maybe one in Pigeon Forge or something like that. I think they had a real one. It was in bad shape, but it was there. This is a 1912 Rolls-Royce owned by John Jacob's store. He was 47 years old. His pregnant wife was 18. And he went down with the ship. He was at the time the wealthiest man in the world. He said he was worth over $150 million at the time. It says here that first-class women on the Titanic would have changed their clothes 4 times a day. That a lot of them carried what they called a lady's maid to help them deal with all their clothing. I thought this was funny. This says it's a 1905 ladies' car coat. They called it a duster. So if you had all those really pretty clothes on, riding in an open car, you needed even more clothes to protect the pretty ones. There's a sign saying that this is our 1911 Carter car, but it does not mention its significance related to the Titanic. Still pretty. This is a replica of the Titanic anchor. They said it weighed almost 17 tons. That was the Titanic auto collection here at the Volo. It's really incredible how they've managed to bring all these cars together in one place. And I'd say more than that they've created this exhibit to tell the deeper story of the ship and its passengers. And I'll see you down the road.